Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a long while and this is a bit overdue, but hopefully this video will still be helpful for any of you freshers or anyone who wants to know what second year life is like in university for people in the UK. So we're going to get straight into it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is probably the most important thing for your transition from your first year to your second year, which is looking for a house. First thing that you want to do is look for the people obviously that you want to live with. So my recommendation would probably be to look for maybe like 3 to maybe maximum 4 people to live with, having like a house of 4 or 5. Ideally 3 other people, so you have like a house of 4. I feel like anything more than this can sometimes get a bit chaotic and your house will get messy, well, depending on who you live with and how clean they are. That's another thing to talk about. When you're choosing your housemates, obviously you're going to want to live with your friends. Bear in mind that, you know, these are going to be the people that you live with every single day, so you're going to have to be able to put up with, you know, if they're like messy and if, you know, they have like annoying little habits. Ideally you'd want to pick some responsible people, at least have like 1 or 2 responsible people in the house, you know, because you're going to have to be dealing with the bills and the rent, and you're going to have to go back and forth with, you know, the agency depending on how you rent your house. So a lot of the times students will usually go and talk to student letting agencies, and that's how you usually find your house, or sometimes people advertise it online or maybe like Facebook groups. So depending on the university and where you're living, I would recommend maybe talking to other second years, like people who are going into 3rd year, and talking about like their experiences with different letting agencies, because some are better than others. To be honest, there are no really good ones because they just kind of want to get your money, in all honesty. When I was in my second year, we went back and forth with the landlord, so it wasn't so bad. So any problems that we had, like when the washing machine was broken, we would call him and he would come and fix things himself. But when you go through a letting agency, like I did in my 3rd year, you will have to call them directly and wait for a few days if something happens, or if it's emergency then they will get someone to come fix it, but usually you'll have to wait for a few hours. So obviously I would recommend going directly through a landlord if you can, because usually when you go through a letting agency they will try and like take your deposit. You know, you got to make sure that your house is like absolutely like tip-top tidy, like when you leave it at the end of the year, otherwise they're going to take your deposit, and that's like you're going to be losing, I don't know, maybe at £200-300 just on cleaning. So obviously try and pick people who are reliable, people that you're friends with, and don't worry if you can't. Sometimes, you know, circumstances mean that you don't necessarily have a group that you can get a house with. You can always find a room in a house, so don't worry about that. Some people like myself who wanted to do like a year in industry end up not taking that route and then having to look for a house kind of last minute. Don't worry, there'll always be houses around, and you know, even if you're alone, I'm sure you'll find people to live with and hopefully they'll just be friendly. I would personally recommend looking for a house from around December to maybe like April time. So around this time now would be the ideal time to look for a house. Most of the houses usually go up by December, January, but there will be more houses that come onto the market after that too. So don't worry about that, because there will always be houses coming up all the way up until July, I believe. So depending on your university, there might be an option to live on campus still, so you can look into that as well. Also make sure that you do your research to find out which are the best locations around your area. That's one of the things that I kind of regretted in my second year. So like me and my friends, we actually got our house pretty early. We got it before Christmas time, but we found a house and we was like, yes, it's so cheap, but we didn't realise that the walk to the bus stop would be so long every day. So we would have to walk, I think it was like 10 to 15 minutes to the bus stop and back every day just to get the bus up to uni, or even like get the bus into town. And for us, a lot of the time we would go into town to buy food, so like obviously imagine like carrying your bags back, and it's pretty heavy, and we didn't even realise that we lived pretty much like a few roads down from a cemetery. So yeah, that was a bit yeah. I learned from my mistakes in my second year. So in my third year we kind of learnt from that experience. I actually lived again with one of my housemates from my second year and two other of my friends. We all originally planned to do a placement, but it kind of got late on into like April, and we was worried that we wouldn't be able to find a house. But luckily we talked to one of the letting agencies, and they actually had a house which was in a perfect location, and I think we were just pretty lucky, to be honest. But our house was maybe a 30-second walk from the bus stop and just at the bottom of town, so you could literally just walk into town, like it'll only take you a few minutes. And our house was really nice. We had a nice garden, we had pretty nice bedrooms, it was quite modern. So yeah, for all of you Kent students, obviously my experience is more geared towards like Kent University. I would personally recommend living towards University Road, down towards Whitstable Road and St Dunstan's area, because that's where a lot of the bus stops are, like that go towards university. And if you go into town a lot, that's probably the best area to live in. And obviously if you travel back to London often, maybe there's like Canterbury West. But also another good area to live in, I guess, depending on what you like, is Hell's Place, which is kind of towards the back of the university side, towards Tyler Hill. A lot of people live there because the houses are a lot bigger and it's a lot cheaper, but you have to walk up this like long hill for about 10-15 minutes. So if you don't mind that, getting to university every day, or if you cycle, then go for it. But I personally wouldn't want to live there because the buses don't really run often, and I like going to town. So yeah, it depends what you like really. So the next thing I'm going to be talking about obviously is like studying in second year. I actually found it quite difficult because I had actually never done business before getting into university. So the first year was kind of just me getting up to scratch, but I mean, I didn't really take it that seriously. But your second year is quite a difference, I would say, because you get a lot more work and you have to be a lot more serious because, obviously you don't want to just pass, you want to get 2-1, don't you? So I would personally recommend, this is some advice that I had got given when I was in my first year from third years. They told me to try my best to get good grades in my second year, because obviously third year will be harder and then you won't have to work as hard. So depending on your university and your course, I don't know how it's structured at other universities, but most of the courses at my uni, the second year is worth 40% and the third year is worth 60%. So obviously it's quite heavily weighted, so you want to do your best in your second year because the level of difficulty isn't as high as your third year, as you can imagine. So if you can try your best and do well, then it will be less stressful in your third year. Second year is pretty stressful, I'm not gonna lie, but pick your priorities wisely. Don't just be partying out all the time if you're not bored of that already from your first year. I would say to study hard, but also remember that you have to let your hair down sometimes, and don't waste any time. Join societies again. If you didn't join the ones that you wanted to in your first year, this is your second chance. In your third year you don't really have as much time to do those things, so I would definitely recommend to join more societies because it's just fun. Make sure you make friends with your course mates because sharing is caring, and sometimes you might be able to help them and then sometimes they might be able to help you. So Win-win. Another thing that people probably don't really think about is in your second year you're going to be doing a lot of studying. So I would recommend going around the campus and trying to find places that you enjoy working depending on how you like to work. Some people like to work with noise, some people like it to be completely silent. So try and find an area at the university that you can study your best. So I found a few different places while I was walking around. There's a lot of hidden treasures, you know, at university. Obviously the biggest place is the library, so you might have like a special, you know, little area or corner that you like to go into and just, you know, study by yourself, or you might have like group areas or rooms that you can book to work with your course mates. You're gonna be living at the library a lot of the time, let's be real now, especially during deadline season, during exam season, so you might as well find somewhere that you find comfortable. Also, try to be more organized, so keep a diary of all of your deadlines, because you know you don't want to miss those, because you know it counts now. Keep a diary, have a calendar up, write down all of your deadlines so you make sure you don't miss it, because I know sometimes you get so busy with so many different things that you kind of miss deadlines. I mean, I know some people have done that before, and it's not great doing all-nighter like the night before and stressing out. So I would definitely try to do assignments, like at least start them a week beforehand, if not before, depending on your workload. Sometimes that might not be possible, but try and keep your, you know, all-nighters to a minimum, because I mean, I know that's part of student life, but you don't want to be like having messed up sleep patterns all the time and being tired every day and then having to be at the library at like 3 AM in the morning. So try to start your deadlines not at the last minute, and at least have a few days where you know that you can spend a good amount of time on it and give in quality work. So lastly, I'm going to be talking about the future. So some of you actually might want to be looking into getting internships or placements, so you might want to think about all the things that I've mentioned for your third year. I would personally advise you guys to try your best to get a summer internship during your first year to your second year, or even like in your summer for your second to your third year, because it's a really hard market out there and it's very competitive. So you know, the more experience you can get, the better, because you know you're going to be needing that once you finish university and applying for jobs. Also, try not to stress out too much. Make sure that you have some downtime for yourself. You can go talk to your lecturers, you can talk to your careers advisors. I'm pretty sure at most universities you can even get counselling if you need some help. So make sure you use all of the resources that you have at your university. You just have to do a little bit of research to find out what there is. And yeah, make sure, most importantly obviously, is to have fun in your second year, because it's going to be a totally new, different experience, especially if you're not going to be living on campus anymore. You're going to be living outside in a house with your friends. You're going to be having a lot of other different weird, funny memories and experiences. So second year for me was quite a big jump, quite a big difference for me, because we actually had so many more deadlines, so I definitely had to be more organised and make sure that I prioritise different things, because you know, some pieces of coursework may be weighted heavily more than others, and you'll find the same kind of thing with your exams. Some might be worth like 30%, some might be worth 70%. So, and also you got to think about your credits. So some of your exams may be for a 30 credit module and some might be for a 10-15 credit module. So obviously the 30 credit is going to be worth more, and that's going to affect your overall grade when you add it all up together with your third year grades. So make sure you calculate things, maybe have a little spreadsheet writing down all of your grades, and you know, trying to calculate what kind of score you're trying to get. So I mean, here in the UK, for a first it's usually 70% upwards of your overall degree, and then a 2-1 will be 60 and above, and then a 2-2 would be a 50, Most importantly, just remember to have fun, go out, don't take it too seriously, because I know some people do and then they just don't really have the whole, you know, university experience. There's so much to do. I mean, depending on where you live, but when I was in Canterbury there was so many places to try out. I always wanted to go to the independent restaurants, you know, to try out new food, and you're only going to be there for 3 years, so you might as well make the most of it and see all the things that you need to see. So to end this video, hopefully you found this helpful. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be, but please leave me some comments below of any questions that you have and I will try to answer them as soon as possible. So hopefully I'll be able to film my 3rd year experience video soon and give you some tips on that, and I will be trying to upload a few more videos weekly. So yeah, if you like this video please like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Goodbye. Bye.